I'm Mrs. Karaz. This is Chapter 1, Roots of the American People, and this is Section 3, Trade Networks of Asia and Africa. So, before we even dive in, and I should maybe click us back for that sake, you might wonder, if we're talking about the settling of America, why are we looking at the trade networks of Asia and Africa? Well, in these next few sections, we're really going to try to get a look at what's happening in the world at large that leads to the settlement of our nation by people from the West. So bear in mind, we want to think about the technology, the competition that's going on in the world at the time, before it brings us to becoming us. So looking at trade routes, early in history, major civilizations would develop at great distances from each other. And obviously that makes trading inconvenient. There were no Amazon delivery trucks or drones or what have you back then. You were walking if you were going to trade with someone, and if there's a long distance between you, you're in trouble. So as the need for trade grew, trade routes were established to help connect people of different cultures. The Arabian Peninsula, which is located in the Middle East, was a major trade center. Ships from China and India passed through, carrying spices, silks, and gems. As trade grew around the Arabian Peninsula, so did the religion of Islam. Islam was founded by the Prophet Muhammad, who taught that there was only one true God, and the belief in just one God is monotheism. Muslims, that's the name given to followers of Islam, believe that the Quran, which is their sacred text, contain the exact word of God. And Islam rapidly spread through conquest and trade, right? As people are conquering other nations or trading more with people of other nations, you're not just sharing goods, you're sharing ideas. And Islam as a religion spread thanks to the trade around the Arabian Peninsula. Arab scholars made major contributions to mathematics, medicine, and astronomy at this time. They helped develop algebra. They measured the size of the Earth, which supported the idea that it was round. They built ships with large triangular sails that let captains use the wind, even if it changed directions. So these are pretty big advances for this time period. Moving to East Africa, we're just jumping all around the world at this point. Zimbabwe was the most popular trade center in East Africa. It was on the trade route between the East Coast and the interior of Africa. Traders that passed through Zimbabwe had to pay taxes on their goods. We have a place called Kilwa, a major trading center that attracted merchant ships as far away as China. And we already see, we're not even into the colonization of America yet, and we already have an active slave trade developing between East Africa and Asia around the early 1400s. Moving to West Africa, looking at Ghana in particular, nomads guided caravans, or groups of camel and their cargo, across the desert to these trade centers. And Ghana was a major trade center in West Africa. It was located between major sources of salt in the desert and gold in the south, and this helped Ghana become very wealthy. There was a high demand for gold in the Middle East, and people in West Africa needed salt to prevent dehydration. That might sound counterintuitive to you. It does to me as well. We'll save that question for Mr. Galino. Looking at two other popular trade centers in West Africa, Mali and Songhai. So when Ghana declined, it was taken into the Mali Empire, which was run by Mansa Musa. Timbuktu was the capital of Mali, and it became a center of learning. After a string of weak rulers and the capture of Timbuktu, Mali fell to the Songhai Empire. Songhai rulers kept Timbuktu as a center of Islamic learning, and the trade of salt, gold, and slaves helped Songhai flourish. Now turning to East Asia. By 221 BC, China was unified into a single empire. Its people all had the same ruler and government. There were highways, canals, and a postal system that connected the different cities of China. And as of 1050, China had actually the most technologically advanced civilization in the world. They invented printing with movable type. And they invented the magnetic compass to help with navigation, or the science of locating the position and plotting the course of ships. I can't imagine that'll have any role in the settling of America, but neither here nor there. Chinese ships had trade routes stretching from Japan to East Asia, so we're seeing a lot of advances being made by people in China when it comes to trade at this time. And last but not least, when we look at trade in East Asia, the Silk Road was a series of trade routes that stretched 5,000 miles from China to Persia. Silk, bronze, pottery, and spices were traded over the Silk Road. These were traded for products like cloves, nutmeg, and peppercorns. The Silk Road declined when sea routes became more popular, but at the time it was a very important connection between the different cities in China. And that's it for today.